Anyway, I want to thank you, Daniel, for taking the time to be here this morning.
Absolutely. Thank you for the invite, and a very good morning to you.
Yeah. You came in here, wait, do you work out every morning?
I try to.
Is that right?
Yeah, I try
So what do you
to.
do? Do you go into the gym or do you go swimming?
I go into the gym. I was a big fan. I am a big fan of something called F45. It's functional 45.
Talk to me. What is that?
It's kind of like you just need 45 minutes to just sweat, and it's very functional movements, so that everyday movements to just support your lifestyle. And they have one in Tokyo. I mean, it's big.
Oh, this is a place you go to?
Yeah, so they have a ton of locations in the U.S. and Australia, all over the world.
Okay.
So I figured, it'd be pretty easy to find. I was stuck in Korea for 15 months, and that kept me alive.
And they had it there?
Yeah, they have
Okay.
a ton over there. It became even more popular through COVID. But I was surprised. I was unpleasantly surprised that we only had one in Japan, and it's right down the street in Hamamatsucho.
Function 45 is what it's called.
F45, yeah. that's
F45.
right. Yeah.
But what's the basis part? It takes 45 minutes for you to work out every day.
Yeah, and there's a really good mix. You're changing up your workouts every day. There's cardio, there's strength training. It's not like hardcore kind of like CrossFit. It's not like that.
You're not trying to build mass or
No.
anything.
No.
Okay.
I mean, look.
No, but I don't know. You could have just started 2 weeks months ago.
It's supposed. I think the mantra or the motto is like team training and life changing. So the fact is, you're working alongside and training with everyday people, and it's everyday movements so that you can live a healthy lifestyle. And it's more than just trying to get ripped up, or but it's just something that's sustainable.
Okay.
So I would do that. Unfortunately, the earliest class that they have is 6:45 in the morning, and it became so tight. So I was doing it for like 6 months, and then coming here to shower, sauna, and then.
Wait, so you work out there, then come here? They don't have facilities there?
They do, but not as nice as here.
Okay.
So, I mean, when you have 30 people finishing
That's right,
training, and then they're all
wait.
waiting for the 2 showers and things like that. So I mean, I'm a big fan, but yeah, I think as soon as they get some earlier classes, or my schedule changes, then I think a couple months ago I started coming back here, lifting, and the facilities are great, and I think they just recently had
How long have you been a member here?
Since I arrived in Japan since last August, so
Okay.
yeah.
All right, where were you born? Tell me that.
Born and raised in Chicago,
Okay.
in the inner city.
Okay.
So
In the inner city?
Yeah, in the inner city. So I'm not one of those that say I'm from Chicago, but I'm actually from Barrington, or
Right,
some
someplace
suburb.
outside.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I was born and raised in inner city, product of the Chicago public school system. Very
Okay.
proud about that.
You're proud about that? They have a good public school system?
No, they have one of the worst in the
Then
country.
why are you proud of it?
I'm
Because you
proud-
made it through?
I'm proud that yes, to show that despite the lack of resources or the challenging environment, it's more than just the school. It's the community, it's the family, and so you can succeed. You can come out, and you won't be a product of your circumstance.
Wait just a minute. But
Yeah.
what's your ethnicity?
So my parents are from Korea.
Okay.
So they were immigrants, I think, in the early 70s. Well, not I think, I know,
You know.
in the early 70s.
Are you the only child?
I have 4 older sisters.
You're the only son.
I'm the one and only son, the youngest.
How many years between you and your oldest sister?
So 5 of us in 6 years. So
So they
1979
were not
to 1985.
joking around.
My parents were not joking around. I wouldn't say I was not joking. My
No, I
parents
said, I said they weren't joking around.
They
So
were not,
Are they
yeah.
still together? Are they doing okay?
Oh yeah. They're
that's
great. They're still in Chicago.
And your sisters? How are your sisters doing?
6 sisters are all doing great. They were spread across the U.S., and one in D.C. area, one in Tennessee, Atlanta, and then a couple around the Chicago area.
Because you have 5 sisters, you said.
Four sisters. Four older
sisters,
sisters.
5 of you.
Yeah.
4 sisters. Are you close with all of them?
Yes, yes.
Because you're the only boy. Are they close with each other?
It probably even closer with each other than they
think
are
so?
with me.
No, come on, you're the only boy. You're the one they got to beat up and do all kinds of stuff to
Yeah,
make up, do everything with.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I don't know how we ended up the way that we ended up, but yeah, no, we're a close family. And
right? Was your father really a part of your life?
My father was a part of my life. Tremendous respect for my father. He was just working his tail off. I mean,
what did he do? What did your father do?
So he was.
Come on.
I mean, it's a long story, but he went to university, Seoul National University, which is kind of like the Tokyo University of Japan.
I know.
Yeah, he went for political science, I want to say, because he had this dream to reunite North and South Korea.
Okay.
And he was an orphan with a family of 4 siblings.
So he doesn't know his siblings at all?
No. They stuck together.
But they were orphaned.
His parents passed away, unfortunately, in a tragic, carbon monoxide with the heater.
Yes, they have it on the floors.
So,
yes.
like, he was 9 years old, and his parents passed away. But his oldest brother, wherever they were orphaned, was adamant that they need to stick together, and that's not easy when you're 4 children. I think there was an American family, maybe a missionary family that, that sponsored them, and so they were sponsored. And I mean, I don't know all the details, but long story short, his brother, willed it out of them, put them all through college, worked, and then his father also attended the same. His brother attended the university. Okay. His sister married one of the professors. So they all became successful through academics. They channeled all their energy through academics. But then my father, found his faith during his college years.
He became very religious.
Very religious, and in a life-changing way, he decided to leave. He was, upon graduation, he became a missionary to the U.S. And
was he already married?
He got married to my mother, and she was already in the States. And
was she already part of that faith too?
Yes.
Okay,
So,
right.
but so they met at church, and then my mother actually went to the U.S. first, to New York, I think, as a nurse, and she has an incredible story as well. And then she came back to kind of get married in Korea, and then they both went. And that was, I think he was 22 years old, and you can just imagine the backlash from the family.
No, wait just a minute. Were they both already speaking? Your mother had already learned how to speak English.
Yes, they both, I wouldn't say that they were, well articulating.
But they understood enough English to be able to get by.
I think, yes, they must have. And I don't know all the details, but I mean, they had to learn English.
Okay. Do you speak Korean?
So there's a story to that. I speak some now, but I grew up
speaking only English, right?
Not only speaking only English, but refusing to speak Korean when my parents spoke to me in Korean.
See, because you're the youngest kid, and they tolerated it. Had you been the first, they would have come on.
Absolutely.
And the only boy too. Come on, man.
So my sisters. Yeah. So I was quite rebellious.
You could do whatever you wanted, man. You knew it.
No, I was actually quite bitter about this Christian faith that my parents.
That started. Wait. Let's not forget that you were a little baby, born in the States. All you knew, they spoke to you. Did they ever speak to you in Korean?
They tried. When
you were growing up?
And they tried to teach me. All my sisters learned the language.
Right.
Every Saturday, every Sunday, we were studying.
Okay. And you still did that. You did that too.
Oh, I know. I refused.
It got away with it.
I got a lot of beatings, and
did you really?
Yes, I did.
By dad or by mom?
By mom. So my mom is the one that willed the son out of for the family. I mean, she is quite traditional in the sense that She really wanted a son.
She needed a son. She needed an heir.
Needed a son, and I think she needed a son for my father.
Yeah, right.
Even though my father could cared less about any of that.
No,
I don't. My father, I think,
Okay,
even to this day, I think he's one of those really gentle souls.
Okay.
You know, I don't know. I'm sure his upbringing had to do with it, but
being orphaned and everything else.
Yes, and he was. I think my mom, again, being traditional, and I don't understand this, and I think there's some similarities maybe in Japan, but you know, continuing the family line. So my grandfather, my father's father, had, you know, 4 children, and you know, none of them they had all daughters, and so my father was the youngest son and the only chance to have us. So my mom, you know, just would not give up, and they were not in a position to be having children. I mean,
that means they didn't have the financial means.
They did not, and I think so. When I was born, I was like, why did you, first of all, come?
Why'd you keep on doing it?
Well, that, and like when I hear the, you know, the life that they could have had in Korea, and from my, you know, uncles and whatnot, and it's just like, why did they choose the tough path, right. And then why did they have so many children, and so we grew up.
You were
quite
thinking
poor.
like that. You were thinking like that.
And I was quite beat.
Now tell me, was your school predominantly black?
It was very diverse. A lot of Mexican, a lot of African, a lot of black people.
What was the percentage of Asians then?
I would say, there's probably 20% Asian. Okay. Asian because of Indian and Vietnamese.
Oh, that's
Cambodian.
Right.
I mean, some of my best friends are Cambodian.
Okay.
That I met in grade school.
I understand.
So quite diverse. Yeah. in the best way. I mean, I look back and I'm very you know, just so thankful for the experience, and you know, my circle of friends, we talk about, you know, only because we were raised in that environment, in that circumstance, can we have an appreciation, can we understand others. So Chicago has this Chicago public school system, I think I can rag on it on and on. I mean, it's just probably one of the worst public school systems in the US. But one of the things that makes it even more sad, and I think there's even more opportunities, is there's a selective enrollment program.
What is it?
It's called a selective enrollment.
Okay.
And I don't know if there's a different name, but they have this testing system. So you have like a very big separation of the have and have-nots, even in the city of Chicago. Gotcha. And so you have, you know, some of the best schools in the state of Illinois, some of the best schools in the U.S. are in the city of Chicago, and the Chicago public schools, where you don't have to pay a dime to get to attend, but you have to test into it, and so you have like 0.1%
of a chance
of getting in
of these good schools.
Of these good schools, and it's the people that have the money that will then purchase a second or third home in Chicago, and for the hope that their children can attend these, because these are better than some of the best private schools.
Nothing, I got you.
And they're paying nothing. It's not even about the cost. It's about the resources that are there and the world-class teachers. And so, I mean, I'm privileged, and I had the opportunity to attend starting in 7th grade to Whitney Young, which is an amazing school. Whitney Young, they have an academic center, you know, some of the best athletes coming from Chicagoland area coming out of Whitney Young. Love the school. But then there was an even better school that opened up my first year of high school, Northside College Prep, and this is where I think for 300 spots there were like over 35,000, you know, applicants, and and that's where I really saw, you know, what you were talking about, like, and just the separation. And I mean, it was a horrible high school experience because these people were like geniuses, and I was actually bringing the average out. Here I was a straight A student till I reached high school, and now I'm below average. But I mean, I think that was kind of like what I realized. Wow, there's just so many different people, and I think for a big majority of, you know, my childhood, you know, I met like what I felt like were real people, everyday people from the hood, from Chicago, and and then being taken away from that and being put into this environment. Of course, I have to be grateful because of the education, and but yeah, I struggled in high school. I really didn't enjoy it. And
what kind of kid were you in elementary then? Elementary and junior high school, were you more academic or were you more physical?
Yeah, so
because I know you were rebellious at home, and you you got chased around the house a lot.
It's gonna sound like a sob story, but like my parents, they worked their tails off, both working full time, raising five children. They channeled everything through, just trying to give their children every chance that they could.
Was your father doing missionary work, or was he working?
They were both very involved with the church, but he had this education. And going back to my father's story, he had this education. He could have done anything he wanted in Korea.
Right.
He couldn't speak English. Actually, now that he couldn't speak English, so the only job he could get was as a stock boy, working in the back. Back then, they had these application processes where you had to take tests, and he just did remarkable on the test. So they're like, "Oh my goodness, this guy is high potential." He gets a job at Illinois Bell, which was the telecom, the phone line, pretty big company, but he couldn't speak English. So they actually put him in the stock room where he was just sorting mail or whatever, and my mom was, a nurse and, working her crazy hours on call, and he decided to go back to school. Well, he started studying English and then decided to go back to school, get another degree. At the time, it was computers were the big thing in the 70s, 80s.
Wait, you look probably a lot younger than you really are.
Yes.
Okay. So
I'm 38.
See, you look like you're in your early 20s, and people. I'm sure that's an issue for you sometimes too when you have to deal with people.
Yeah.
I used to have. I can say that now, but I'm 70. But when I was really young, my sons my sons have that problem now. But I know you. So you're 38?
Yeah, 38. I can absolutely relate. I think for a good 20 years, 15 years, I wanted people to take me serious. I would put the glasses on to look more mature.
You tried all kinds of stuff. You're right.
And now I'm enjoying it.
Because you've already established yourself now, right. So you don't have to. Are you married now?
Married.
You have kids?
Two children.
How old are your kids?
I have an 8-year-old daughter and a 4-year-old son. Yeah.
So you've done the girl and the boy thing. So you're good. You got your boy. You got your heritage.
Honestly,
I didn't care.
I think I had so much pent-up trauma or bitterness that I was like, I'm happy. I'm happy with 2 daughters. I'm happy with one daughter. Actually, I would have been happy with 1 daughter. I mean, yeah.
Is your wife Korean too?
She is Korean. She's from Korea, and it's so interesting because I was anti-Korean. I
can imagine you were anti a lot of stuff.
I was anti a lot of stuff.
So when you were growing up, because that's really interesting. But I don't want to take all the time on that this time, because we might talk again.
Yeah, sure.
Wait, let me find out if we're going to be talking again. How long have you been in Japan?
8 months, 9 months.
How long do you have here?
It's indefinite. I mean, it could be.
Who do you work with?
I work for Zurich Insurance.
Okay.
Yeah, I started with them in Zurich, Switzerland, in corporate center about 12 years ago. Then spent time in their North America headquarters, which is actually right outside of Chicago. So it brought me back home, which was intentional so that I can settle down and actually give the relationship that was long distance with my now wife a real shot. So.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
How old were you when that happened?
So that
Early
was
30s?
10 years ago.
Okay.
11 years ago that brought me back to Chicago. So I was 1 year in Switzerland, and then she was graduating university, and she was like, I'm going to go back home.
To Korea?
Yeah, to Korea. She wasn't interested in actually, staying in the U.S. If there was nothing holding her there.
Wait, you said you were a little anti at first at one time. At a time in your life, you're anti-Korean.
Yeah.
How did you meet her and make that happen?
I met her as I matured a bit.
29, 28, 29.
No, I met her, I think I was 26 when I first met her. Got married at 28. But the reason why I never would have imagined marrying a Korean and someone from Korea was because I think I tried this dating thing quite young during high school, and my parents were like absolutely against it.
Against what? Dating
Again,
who?
dating, just dating in
Period.
general,
Okay.
because they wanted me to focus on myself, which is
Right.
reasonable. But then when I actually started dating, they were so against, anyone
Outside of Korea.
outside of Korean.
Okay, I got you.
And
So
then
that made you want to have
that
them even
exactly, and I was just like, so racist and like.
more. I can't stand you. I'm gonna get the whitest, blackest woman I can find in my whole life.
Exactly,
That's it. I
exactly.
hear
That's
you.
exactly what I was, and I think I even, I promised myself, and I, made the promise to my parents, like, you are going to regret this, and here I am 10 years later. eating my own words.
Happy man, married like they wanted you to. They put that in you.
Yeah,
That's
so I mean, my wife is an angel, and
That's beautiful.
actually, she's the reason why I didn't know that if she spoke English or not. So I was like then looking for all the Korean books that I was supposed to be learning, and all the alphabets and things, so that I can actually like communicate with her. I met her in passing. She was living in Chicago for, I don't know, at least 8-9 years at the time. I was not living in Chicago. I was went to work in down south Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. Did grad school there, and then I was traveling for work.
What were you studying all this time? What were your studies? What was your interest?
So my background is finance. My interest is always making money.
Period.
Period.
Yeah,
I mean, just from a
period.
young age, I started working
What's
quite
the
early,
end goal?
so that I can be independent
Okay.
and not in the same position that I was growing up in terms of property.
But are your parents doing okay, pretty good now?
Oh, they're
They're doing
very
good?
comfortable. Yeah.
Your sisters are doing good too?
They're all very, very
Did
successful.
they all get married?
They all got married. They're
So
all
you've been an
quite
uncle.
successful.
You were an uncle a long time ago?
I have 11 nieces and nephews. So yes. Yeah, when we get together, it's 25 of us or something, and which we did last Christmas.
And your parents are
holiday.
feeling so proud. They're sitting up there saying, "Well, it meant something. It worked."
Oh, they love it.
Those beatings had some.
I mean, it sounds worse than it.
I know, no, but listen.
it's-
But as a kid, it's traumatic. It really is.
It was like she would take out this belt, and
doesn't
I'd be
matter.
like, hit me as hard as you want.
Are you serious? You take it? You take it?
Oh yeah. I mean, I was a brat. I was this rebel, and I was just. I mean,
Do you see that? Do you see that in any of your kids?
Oh,
Which one
my
of your kids?
daughter. My daughter's.
She's got you all in her.
And my mom would tell me this like, and I would just like just ignore her and make some smart comment back. She's like, "Oh, your children are going to treat you the exact same way."
And sure enough, here she comes. What's your daughter's name?
My daughter's Priscilla.
Priscilla.
And
She's
she is going to be
And she's
a
8 years
force
old.
to
She's
be
8 years
reckoned
old.
with. Yeah, she is the most independent, like strong-willed 8-year-old that I'll come across. But I love it. I love it about her, and she's gonna change the world.
That's
yeah.
beautiful. That's beautiful. And your son, what's his name?
His name is Nathaniel,
Nathaniel,
and
okay.
he takes after my wife in the best ways. I mean, and also his grandfather, my father. He's very gentle, very considerate, and it's incredible, just fatherhood. And I'm sure you have
have 4
so much
sons,
more.
yeah.
Yeah. So like just seeing how they grow up and how they learn and develop. I mean, it's just incredible. I can never imagine the things that he says as a 4-year-old that I would have never considered, and just how considerate he is, and
This is your father.
my son.
Your son, what he says at 5, he's 4?
He's 4. Like so he's just
Yeah, that's true. It is amazing what they come up with. And you think, I didn't teach him that.
no,
How could he know that?
right.
And there's something else working
Yeah.
that makes him hot. And why does he sit that way? Why does he move? Come on, the
Yeah.
DNA is a strong thing.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, we're really enjoying Parenthood. It's weird in COVID, but
So you've been in Japan for how long now? You said 8
Since
months?
last August, so
Since last August.
8-9 months. But it's been a journey. I mean, we were supposed to be out here in 2020.
From where?
From Chicago.
Okay, from Chicago.
Accepted a role to come support the business, the branch out here, Christmas Eve of 2020, and I mean that was kind of right in the middle of COVID, and I had to support the business from there, which was just crazy.
Is your wife working?
No, she's not working.
Okay, so she can stay home and be with the kids.
Yeah.
She's working, but she's got to be with the kids.
Oh,
That's
she's
what-
working nonstop around the clock.
Did she want to do that? Did she want to work at all?
I want to be careful because
be careful.
I've got some criticism from my former coworkers in the
About what?
U.S. Like, so
By saying that she's not working?
exactly, and
Even when she's taking care of the kids?
exactly.
Is that no? But I mean, no. But that's what I meant. I don't care what he said was the right thing. She isn't working a traditional 9 to 5.
Right.
She's working a 24/7.
Yes,
Which is a little bit
absolutely.
different, and it's really important to men to have someone in their life that will do that. You know, and some men are taking that position.
It's absolutely. I don't take it for granted
Sure,
at
most
all. But I remember being in a dinner at a work event in Chicago, and some female executives, very close colleagues of mine, and still to this day I connect with them. But back then it was early in the relationship, the working relationship, and they went around and were discussing kind of family life, and I was like, oh yeah, my wife, we're married. We didn't have kids at the time, so we were quite newlyweds, and someone asked, is she working? I was like, oh no, and she doesn't have any interest in working. And then they came after me.
Just say what are they talking? What came out? What?
She was so confused. She was like,
Why
"No,
would they
I'm very happy," and we were the kids were on the way at that point.
Oh, she was pregnant with one
yeah,
of them?
she was, and she was just
With
like
your daughter with Priscilla.
and she told me, honey, just thank you, and she, you don't have to worry about that, and I tell that story because it's just a reminder. Sometimes you just have to
Let it go.
You have to.
That's their life.
Block that stuff out.
Let me
and
tell-
actually had to pause and say and think. Does my wife have a different view? And
You
is
had
she
to
is,
answer,
is
yeah. Does
she
she feel bad?
Is she feeling and once I got confirmation that there was no issue between us, and she was very supportive and very thankful, then it became a
It's not
non-issue.
like, so your wife, let me see. Did she ever have any ideas of really starting to work though? I'm sure you went down that road. to ask her.
I've encouraged her, especially in the U.S. I think it's just among my circle of friends, and everyone's double income and everyone's working, and so this was new. I mean, I think part of it is she's Korean from Korea, so it didn't faze her at all. I mean,
Right.
yeah, but she had a dual degree. She's bright, very smart. She can do whatever she wants. She's biology and economics, so she's
But
got this.
She works with her kids, doesn't she?
Oh yeah,
See,
absolutely.
so come on, there's
Yeah.
nothing better than that.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing. Shoot, that's
Yeah.
worth its weight in gold.
Yeah.
To
So,
have a mother that's with her kids all that, shoot,
Yeah.
and supports them and can understand what they're working on.
Oh yeah, and her passions, you can see them coming through in the children as well. I mean, she spends the most time with them, but like my daughter, I go back to my daughter. I mean, she, like I said, she's going to take over the world at some point. She's just so smart with finances, and at the same time, she's so curious on this life sciences. My wife, if she could do anything that she wanted back when, she would have gone into culinary school, because she's just she's
So that's a good
phenomenal in the
idea.
kitchen.
And it keeps you just straight.
Oh yeah,
Isn't that nice?
And it's that passion has come through in our children. I mean, it was Mother's Day last weekend, and my daughter, she's down in the kitchen baking banana bread, and she
now.
loves it, and yeah, so 8 years old, and like always asking us to get her some new tools or new kitchen gadgets so that she can prepare something.
What do you
for
have
us.
her at school?
So they're at United School of Tokyo. It's a
I haven't
school.
heard, just heard about it again today.
Yeah,
It's a school.
it's a school. It's been around, I think, for at least a decade. It's a community international school. It's near Shibuya.
School. Yeah, okay.
So we live in Shoto, and it's literally 3-4 minutes walk to the school.
So you live right behind the Tokyo that's being torn down? Isn't that
Bunkamura.
Yeah, Bunkamura.
Yeah. So we live
That's
right,
a nice
right
little
in,
area. That's good. Yeah.
It's beautiful, beautiful.
It is.
And we had no idea. Our main priority was just, for my wife, somewhere that is walking distance. She didn't want the kids to be on a bus for an hour.
Right, I hear.
My first choice would have been ASIJ, but my son being 4 years old, it would have been 2 different campuses, and then on the bus. So that wasn't an option for my wife. We actually struggled to find options where both kids could go together. And so there were 2 schools, Yoyogi International and United School of Tokyo. And when we visited Yoyogi, unfortunately, they didn't have enough students for my son's grade because of COVID. And so he would have had to gone up 1 grade. And so it made the choice very clear, United School of Tokyo. And we love it. They have wonderful friends. It's a community school, so it's parents are quite involved, which is great. And I'm enjoying it.
So are you running the company that's here that you're working with?
I'm not running the company. I run the finance and actuarial team. So I'm the CFO. Yeah,
okay.
And the business here is just completely different from what I've been exposed to in our other locations, mainly in the U.S.
How so?
So in North America, we're commercial insurer. So we do business, huge commercial risks. Construction of Madison Square Garden, the Hoover Dam, like the Chicago Transit Authority, the CTA, the expansion of the Panama Canal. So this is where Zurich is in North America. We're huge commercial risks. Just about every Fortune 100 company we're doing business with, we're helping them to manage and mitigate their own risks, and we provide solutions. In Japan and in other parts of the world as well, we have a big retail presence, meaning personal lines. So in Zurich, Japan, people know us as auto insurance. Kind of back in the States, Allstate, State Farm, but more direct competitor would have been like Geico, so direct insurance. So you call up Zurich, Japan, and you ask for auto insurance, and we'll be there. We don't go through agencies or anything, so it's direct. So I'm learning a lot about the personal line side, the risks that are involved, and the financial discipline that's required. But having a lot of fun.
So that's what you're doing here. You're auto here.
Most people know us as auto, but it's about 40% of our portfolio. We actually do a lot of accident and health, so supplemental health, cancer cover. We, if you need quick cash for hospitalization, so we have kind of if unexpected accident happens, a personal accident, when children get into accidents. So people don't realize it, but Zurich's underwriting that risk through all the grocery stores, through the banks, through credit card companies. And so when you get a credit card and you have a benefit, and you'll look on those benefits, I have accident cover, or I have trip cancellation cover, or automobile, you know, I'm renting a car and you get collision cover. So those little benefits that come from these different credit card companies
Zurich
or banks, we underwrite some of those various risks, and that's actually quite a big part of our portfolio.
Now, how are you finding business here? You don't have to go out and get business. You're just taking care of the business that the company's gotten because you're CFO.
Oh no. Like most companies, we are actively driving new business. You
do as a CFO?
So this is another kind of unexpected but very welcome benefit of the role. I get exposed and get to participate in a lot more than just the pure finance, which is what I would have been limited to.
So you can actually bring in a sell.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I love that. That's what I enjoy the most. I mean, I love getting out there with the business, meeting our partners. So the entire the partnership business with banks and credit card companies. I mean, I've met several of our partners, and
that's interesting.
yeah, I mean, from the direct auto side, it's not so much that I'm going to go and oh, I'm going to bring business from myself. I'm going to make sure that Zurich's insuring my. So if anyone needs, strongly auto insurance, so
you can take care, help them take care.
Yeah, especially because it's not so easy with the language, English versus Japanese. So
that's right. So, but how would you wait? You have people in your office that do that?
Yeah, exactly.
They could do the English.
Oh
part.
yeah, absolutely.
And
they
that's
can
good.
just
Okay,
call me
well
up
that's
directly.
good. Oh,
Yeah.
let's do this then.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah, so I mean, we've expanded, especially during COVID, to pet insurance and camping insurance.
Do you do personal effect insurance? Personal effects. For example, if someone has, I used to sell insurance a long time ago. So personal effects would be like if I lost my equipment.
Oh yeah,
or something
absolutely.
like that.
Home contents.
You come in the house and you say, but it's difficult to go through everything, so we don't itemize. You basically, you can tell.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that vanity set costs this and that costs this. You do that?
Yeah, we do that. We do home contents. We do property insurance. We do fire, if in case something.
But you don't handle earthquake insurance.
We do.
You do?
We do.
Because that's the hardest to get in Japan.
It is hard, and there's a big demand for it. We have to be careful of the risks that we take on, but so we work very closely with our reinsurance partners, Swiss Re to be exact. So there's a certain limit that we have an appetite for, but no, we do EQ.
Okay. You just came over here, so you're just getting started. You're enjoying your role. You're starting your family. Your family's growing. I mean,
yeah.
You're enjoying that. Your wife's enjoying her time. Do you find any things that don't appeal to you, or that you would change, or do you see yourself staying here for a long period of time?
Before we came to Japan, it was always, we always assumed 2-3 years. I've got a lot of advice from coworkers that have come through Japan, and even those that have not come, even left the U.S. Don't get stuck there, because we've had some situations where it's very easy to get comfortable. And now I could actually, being here just 8-9 months, I can see exactly what they were saying. I mean, the quality of life here is quite tremendous. I mean, it's very nice. Life here is very nice. So I can see us staying here for a lot longer, but we'll have to see. I think time will tell. It's much nicer than. The experience is much nicer than I think I even imagined.
Did the club come as a part of your package?
Yes.
That's maybe it's becoming the thing now, because it used to be very rare.
Oh, really?
When I first came, you couldn't come here without a package. People couldn't join the club without it. Their companies were paying for everything, and they went. I won't tell you how far they went, because then you might feel like your package wasn't that great. But I mean, they were really getting good packages. Then they stopped. When they started hiring local. So they didn't get the club. And a lot of the foreigners weren't being sent over here by people that were willing to afford the club. They said, we'll give you Japan, but if you want the club, it's on your own.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah. I think this is
very few people that have a package.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know
you
how you survive.
See, you're good at what you're doing. So you said, no, I'll come, but you're going to give me all the trimmings.
Honestly, I didn't even know that this was part of the package. They're like, oh, by the way, a gym. And I thought it was just some old gym, like 24-hour gym or something.
They're trying to keep you, buddy.
Yeah,
so you're good at what you're doing. Before we end, there's a question I'd like to ask. Daniel, if you could go back in time, knowing what you know now, you're 38 years old, and talk to your younger self, how old would you be, and what would you tell yourself?
How old would I be?
Yes, and what advice would you give yourself?
I wish I wouldn't have taken life so seriously when I was younger.
How old were you when that was happening?
Probably 8 or 9 years old.
Okay. Were you really serious kid then?
I was just so much bitterness and that I harbored, I think, growing up, and there was a lot of different reasons for it, but it's like, just don't take yourself so seriously. Just relax, and just enjoy being 8 years old. Because I want to say that to my daughter, because I see a lot of myself in her, and I think I'm successful to a certain extent, and I wish I would have told myself, because I always had a chip on my shoulder, want to start making money as quickly as possible so I can lead this life that I'm growing up in. I mean, I qualified to be on every sports team, soccer, basketball, baseball, tennis, you name it, but I could never afford to be on any, because I made it on the basketball team, and there's some basketball shoes that everyone has to wear. The team basketball shoes go to Payless. I don't even know if you remember. My mom's like, here, pick a basket. I'm the only one on the basketball team without the basketball team shoes. So it's not, it was not sustainable. So, I mean, that was my life growing up. And so I was just like, very bitter, but man, just relax. Don't take it so seriously, and just try to enjoy it. There were so many things that I could go back and be so thankful for. I mean, the friendships that I have from 2nd grade, 3rd grade. My best man, guy that I met, Cambodian from 3rd grade.
He came to, really? No, you're still good friends?
No, my circle of friends literally are my childhood friends from grade school, middle school, high school, university. Came out to visit to Tokyo a couple months ago. So it's just like, yeah, I would dream of that for my children. And so it's like, the biggest thing is just enjoy it and relax, and don't take it so seriously. Don't take life so seriously.
Well, Daniel, thank you so much, man.
Thank you very much, Lance.
Fantastic.
This was a pleasure.
Thank you, really. Yeah. I want to thank all of you for watching this podcast. Make sure you press like and subscribe. And never forget, it's all on loan. So continue to reach for the stars, because you're too blessed to be stressed.